Hello and welcome to another video. This one's gonna be a little bit silly. We're gonna be implementing FizzBuzz, the popular, well, it really shouldn't be popular. It's such a bad interview question, but interview question, and we're gonna implement it in a silly programming language, SQLite, which hopefully I will convince you by the end that you can actually write real code in it. Should you? Probably not, but you can. But anyway, let's jump into it. Okay, so SQLite is a very, very basic SQL language. It's very useful for doing sort of embedded flat file SQL. It's a single file database. But we're going to be using it today to write FizzBuzz. If you're not familiar with FizzBuzz, basically it counts the numbers from 1 to some number, 1 to 100, 1 to 50, whatever. If it's divisible by 3, it prints fizz. If it's divisible by 5, it prints buzz. If it's divisible by neither, it prints the number. And if it's divisible by both, it'll print FizzBuzz. So yeah, let's jump into it. Okay, so we're gonna do a little SQL file here. Most of the magic here that we're gonna be doing today is a little thing called with recursive. If you type those two words, you're getting off to a good start. This is called a common table expression. And you basically give it a table name. This is going to be like a temporary table name, and then the columns that we're going to use. I'm going to start by just counting the numbers from 1 to 10 and implementing implementing a nice little counter there, and then we'll use that to expand out to implement our actual FizzBuzz here. And the way this works is you have your kind of preamble recursion part, and then you have whatever expression afterwards. So we're just going to do select star from NN as our actual output here. And the way with recursive works is you state a base case and then you union your recursion case. Our base case here is just going to be select 1. So we're going to start at 1, and then we're going to union all, and then we're going to select recursively. And we're just going to base it on the previous call. So we're going to reference NN, and we're going to increment by 1 from NN. And since we want this to go to bound, we are going to set a condition here that causes the recursion to stop. So we'll do where nn.I is less than 10. Now, this you would think would go from 1 to 9, but this is actually this expression is based on the previous recursion. This is actually inclusive despite being less than here. If we run this, you'll see that we get the numbers 1 to 10. And that's going to be the basis for our execution here. Now, I'm actually going to bump this up to 30. That way we actually get 2 interesting outputs in our debugging here. And we're going to implement our, our recursion here. Now, there's actually kind of 2 ways to go about this. One would be to implement the actual FizzBuzz logic in here. I'm actually going to do that first, and then I'm going to show you how I can slightly simplify it. So we're going to have our integer, our little counter, and we're going to have our output. Let's call it, oh man, those are both. We'll call it O, great variable name, because out and output are both apparently reserved names. I don't know if they're reserved names in SQLite, but I'm gonna trust this syntax highlighting and not bother with weird names. Okay, so we again need to select our base case. One other thing that's kind of annoying about these, and maybe annoying about SQLite in general, is the syntax errors are not super useful. This one's actually not bad. But for instance, if I just have like a random case statement here that's not filled out properly, you'll see that it's like error on line 1. It's like good luck finding the bug and however many lines of code you have here. That's one part of this that makes it kind of difficult, but yeah. Anyway, okay, so we need to select our base case. Our base case here is just going to be the string 1. That's going to be our output because 1 is neither divisible by 3 or 5. So we're pre-computing one of the values here, which is maybe a little bit cheaty. But that's fine. We now need to compute the continuing case here. So all of our outputs based on our input value. So we'll do case when nn.I, and we have to do nni.I plus 1 because we are, in our output here, we're going to be looking at the new value rather than the previous value. So this is, again, we'll probably refactor it later to be less confusing. Well, when we do it down here, we won't have to do this weird +1. Okay, but anyway, we need to do mod 15 first. We can't do mod 3 and mod 5 and then concatenate them because we only get one shot to get the answer here. So we'll do when mod 15, then FizzBuzz, when nn, should we just copy paste this 3 times? 4 times, 3 times. When it is 3, we want fizz. When it is 5, we want buzz. And otherwise, we want the actual value. And that should give us our computation here. We need to, of course, select it down here as well. And we've implemented FizzBuzz. Did I get it right? Yeah, this is mod 5, 15 should be FizzBuzz. Cool, and 30 should be FizzBuzz as well. So this works. This is an implementation of FizzBuzz. I don't really like this though. There's like this +1 is kind of annoying. This is a little bit weird. Let's actually move our logic outside into this select statement here and simplify things a little bit. We're gonna copy you down here. We can actually replace nn.I +1 with just nn.I. And we can get rid of our second column here. And get us back to our original case here. That should work. Syntax error near from. Oh boy. So it could be either this from or this from. Oh, I bet it's this trailing comma here. Perfect. Okay, now we have FizzBuzz that's a little less weird. It's still weird because we're using with recursion, but anyway, hopefully you found this interesting. Oh wait, before we end, I wanted to show you how I use SQLite kind of as a meme programming language for Advent of Code. If you're not familiar with Advent of Code, it is a series of programming puzzles that come out twice a day in December, and it's kind of a nice little competitive programming thing that I do once a year. But I like to I like to implement them in meme programming languages, including SQLite. Let me show you some of the ones that I've done before. So this is a bit spoilers, but oh well. So this was a Python problem where I had to do some bit logic and math and counting, and I decided, you know, this seems easy enough to implement in SQLite. So you see the same, I have the same with recursive here. I'm actually doing bit parsing here, it looks like. Yeah. Because SQLite doesn't have a way to do powers. Oh wait, no, this is just computing a bunch of powers. Yeah, this is computing a bunch of powers of 2 so that I can later multiply them together. Because there's no power function in SQLite. So you have to implement a lot of stuff yourself. But yeah, you'll see I have 2 different common table expressions here. GitHub doesn't want to highlight this for some reason. I don't know why. Probably just they don't have an implementation of it. But yeah, you can see it's possible to do computation with SQLite, which is kind of cool. I actually recently, I'm a little bummed I wasn't able to record this, but did an interview in SQLite, and the interviewer's reaction was pretty good. Maybe I'll try and sneak an interview in where I record myself memeing in SQLite. But I also was able to do Stripe's interview questions all in SQLite. So it's very possible to use it as a computation engine and get things working in it. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this. If there are additional things you would like me to explain, leave a comment below or reach out to me on the various platforms. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.